pro-coup demonstrators have taken to the streets of Niger's capital. It comes a day after some members of the Presidential Guard unit staged a coup. It's placed the fate of Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum in doubt. Earlier today, the head of the army pledged his support to leaders of Wednesday's coup and suspended the activities of all political parties until further notice.
The military command of the Niger Armed Forces, composed of the Chief of the Armed Forces Staff and the Chiefs of Armed Forces Staff, following a meeting held on July 26, 2023, and motivated on the one hand by the concern to preserve the physical integrity of the President of the Republic and of his family, to avoid a deadly confrontation between the different forces which could lead to a bloodbath, have decided to subscribe to the declaration of the Defense and Security Forces. All political party activities are suspended until further notice. Signed in Niamey on July 27, 2023 by the President of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Homeland.
We can now bring in our French politics editor, Mark Perlman. Mark, good evening. What are you hearing from your contacts on the ground?
Well, what we're hearing is that it seems that the tide is turning against the president. As of this morning, he tweeted that, we will defend our democracy. His foreign minister spoke to France 24, saying we're the legitimate power. This is a coup attempt. We will resist it. And clearly, there was a big question mark. Where does the army leadership stand? Because yesterday night, when a group of 10 officers took to the airwaves, there was not, the army chief was not there. The army was represented as well as all the different security forces, but he came up with this statement today saying that for the sake of peace, stability, security, we support what was said yesterday, that is the suspension of the constitution, closure of all the borders, and so on, and essentially supporting the coup. And this really could tilt the balance in favor of the rebels, because the president, if he doesn't have the backing of the army leadership, we already know that the Presidential Guard is holding him hostage as his residence. Right now, we understand that he's not a prisoner, that until very recently he could still use his phone, which is rather unusual in a coup situation. And the military have repeated that they do not want to harm him physically, and so the situation is still in flux. But it seems the omen is not very good for President Mohamed Bazoum. Right?
Because yesterday we had Nigeria's president who announced that Benin's president would be heading to the country almost immediately to mediate. Are mediation efforts worth anything now after the country's army chief has pledged his support to the coup leaders?
That's a good question, because first of all, the mediation was supposed to happen last night. It didn't happen. Patrice Talon, the president of Benin, supposedly went to Niger today. We've had no word over whether he has been meeting with military officials, with the president, or so on. And it seems that those who are behind the coup are trying to rush this to make this a fait accompli, that there shouldn't be any mediation anymore, because that's it. What they don't have right now is obviously a formal resignation of the president. This could be what's being discussed right now, but clearly the tensions could rise. Right now, we haven't seen any fighting. We've seen some demonstrations. We heard some warning shots, but not actual fighting. This is what both sides are trying to avoid right now.
We're airing pro-coup footage of pro-coup demonstrations. There are some people carrying Russian flags. We've seen this growing anti-French sentiment in neighboring countries like Mali and Burkina Faso. What is the situation like in terms of relations between Niger and Paris?
Well, obviously, there are clearly some anti-French feelings in Niger, and there are parties who are saying Niger is too much aligned with Paris, especially after France was kicked out from Mali, France was kicked out from Burkina Faso after the coups that took place in those countries. And they're saying, well, why is Niger the sole ally of France in the Sahel region? By that, they mean we have French influence, but also French military presence in Niger, because many of those militaries who departed Mali and Burkina Faso are returning to France, but a sizable number of them, we're hearing about 2,000, are stationed in Niger. So clearly, this is, yes, it's about democracy, and we've heard a condemnation from ECOWAS, from the African Union, that coups shouldn't be allowed, they shouldn't become the rule, because yes, Mali, Burkina Faso, let's not forget Guinea in West Africa in just recent years. And as a president of the region told me off the record, this is a shame for us. We're going back to the 1970s. But in addition to the democracy aspect, there's clearly a strategic aspect. France's military present, and let's not forget, U.S. military present. There have been special forces. We know there's a drone, essentially base in Niger that's been quite active. What becomes of that is still a big question mark. We heard the members of the junta, as we can call it now, warn against any outside military interference. We heard the self-appointed spokesperson for the junta warned that France had landed a military aircraft this morning very early in Niamey, despite the closure of the airspace. This sounds like a warning shot towards Paris, and a way to tell them, do not meddle in this. This is our business. This is not your business anymore.